Original post, April 7, 2024. Phew boy, I had no idea people could be this unaware. My spouse's childhood friend announced a year ago that they were coming to our country and intended to stay with us. We tentatively said okay. Recently, we found out that my mother requires a significant medical procedure, will be hospitalized for a few days to a week, and recovering with us after. The three of us live together as roommates with bills split equally, essentially. This procedure falls smack dab into the middle of spouse's friend's trip. I told my spouse to tell their friend about the circumstances and that this would severely impact any sightseeing plans we had, and I would be out for the duration of the trip between work and taking care of my mom. My spouse's friend, despite driving for many years in their home country, did not want to drive while here and expected us to ferry them around. I had hoped that, like most normal people, the friend would pick up on the fact that this is not a good time to visit us and make alternate arrangements, i.e. drive a car. But instead, they said, well, as long as I get to see X while here, I'm fine. I should probably explain that my spouse is a very new driver and just got their license a month ago and has little experience driving freeways. They still are terrified of these. I do most of the driving as a result while they are getting comfortable. Said friend arrived on Monday and since then expected to be picked up from the airport, a 2-hour drive each way, and my spouse, the new driver, had to drive in horrific traffic to get them. I was busy with appointments for my mom and work. Did not offer gas money to my spouse for driving all that way to get them. Expects to be driven to sightsee each day. Again, never offers gas money or pays for anything. When in our house, has the TV up loud in the one room I enjoy hanging out in. Doesn't pick up after themselves. Has not offered to pay for a single meal. Does not even pay for their own meals or drinks, save for one meal. So now we're paying to feed another adult. Should also mention that this friend has money. So it is not even a case of not having money. When taken to sightsee, never says thank you and even complained about one place my spouse took them to. Takes long showers without even asking if we need the bathroom before. Does not offer to help with anything in the house. Refuses to arrange for their own sightseeing and is entirely dependent on my spouse, who I'd like to have around to support me during this stressful time, but do not want to be around the friend, so therefore I don't get my spouse. Lectures my spouse on the politics and social norms of our country, despite the fact that my spouse has lived here for 4 years and knows more than said friend does. Friend is a total social drain to be around and only wants to talk about themselves and their thoughts or complaints. Friend has not once said thank you to us for hosting or driving or paying for their meals. Friend is staying for 13 days total, all with us, all with the expectation of us driving them. I have social anxiety and have had to give up my 2 favorite spaces in the whole house so that friend has a place to sleep and a place to hang out when they're not in the bedroom. I work from home and had to relocate my work setup, previously in the guest room, to another part of the house, which was and is a major inconvenience as work is crazy right now and I'm having to balance taking care of my mom with that. The last 6 days have been hell and I feel like I have no peace in my own home, especially after a long day of having to be social while working and then having to continue that because of this house guest. The next 6 days will also be hell as this friend simply will not take a hint and I've got the stress of dealing with my parent who is having a procedure that has a 10% fatality rate, and given her health conditions, complications could happen. Of course, knowing this friend, they probably would not take a hint then either and would probably still expect my spouse to drive them places. As it is, my spouse asked if they and the friend should come up to the hospital to visit my mom, to which I said my spouse should, but not if the friend is going to be clinging to them like a sad puppy. I have talked to my spouse, and they agree that the friend is a drain. They're not happy either, but they are trying to stick it out until the friend leaves and have already said the friend will not be allowed to stay here again. It is clear to me that the friend is massively taking advantage of my spouse and I hate to see it. I'm just flabbergasted that people like this even exist, as every other houseguest we've ever had has been considerate, occupies themselves, arranges for their own transportation, and genuinely seems to care about our lives as we care about theirs. This friend is one of the most entitled people I've ever had the displeasure of meeting. Edit. Just want to clarify a few things. 1. I am not paying for anything for the friend. I put my foot down. My spouse is paying from his own funds too. I told my spouse that I thought their friend should make an alternate arrangement after I found out about my mom's procedure, and that I was in no place mentally or emotionally to have someone staying with us. 3. I told my spouse that at the very least, friend needs to drive themselves, not put all that burden on spouse, and I really need my spouse to be there to support me at the hospital. I did try to cancel this friend coming here, but it fell on deaf ears. Edit 2. Thank you everyone for your responses and tough love. It gave me the courage to finally stand up for myself in this situation rather than just shutting up and taking it. My spouse now better understands how they screwed up and how to fix it. We have a plan to move forward. Things aren't perfect, but I feel more optimistic. There will be an update post, probably tomorrow, of what happened and the fallout. Relevant comments. Comment 1, throw this friend out. Walk up to him, look him right in the eye, and tell him he can no longer stay at your place and will have to leave now. Not tomorrow, not soon, not when he can, but now. If you want to be kind, you can tell him between your mom's health and your stress, he's got to go. If he says anything at all other than, "Okay, I'm leaving," tell him you're finished discussing this and to get the fuck out of your house. He can get a hotel room, he can get a taxi, he can do whatever he wants, but he has to leave now. The worst thing that will happen? He'll never bother you two again. OP, the friend is no friend of mine. I have barely interacted with him because I have zero tolerance for entitled people, and he just screamed entitled from the first time I met him. I've literally put up with him because of my spouse. However, I think this whole situation may end my spouse's friendship, as even they're getting fed up and are upset at how upset I've been. There's not much transportation around here, but the friend could get a bus or rent a car and drive themselves. There's plenty of hotel rooms and he can certainly afford them. These are all things I've said to my spouse, who apparently is afraid to rock the boat and say these things to their friend. Update 1, April 9, 2024. People were asking for an update on this debacle, so here it is. After the original post and seeing the comments, I got even more angry at the situation. I felt very hurt and disappointed by my spouse's inability to put the needs of his spouse above a friend he rarely sees in person. I felt like I was not the priority, and neither was my mom in a very vulnerable time. I simply could not tolerate the situation anymore. Everyone's responses shook some sense into me and made me determined to not be a doormat any longer. Because I was exhausted and had already told my spouse of my feelings, I essentially gave my spouse the cold shoulder. I avoided interacting with them and the friend. I refused to buy any food even for my spouse. I looked after my mom, spent lots of time with her, and made plans. When we finally talked later that day, I told my spouse that I was getting a hotel room 5 minutes from the hospital and would be staying there until I felt comfortable in my own home. If that was several days, so be it. They asked if I was doing it to avoid them. I said no, I was simply done with the stress of the situation and did not care to be around the friend. By the next morning, I think they finally realized the gravity of the situation and just how upset I was. They offered to help the friend to fly home sooner. I said, why is the only option you driving them everywhere or them having to fly home? Are they that incapable that they cannot get a hotel and their own transportation? My spouse mentioned the cost of a hotel, to which I said I know the friend has money, they can afford it, and why travel to another country if they had no money to pay for accommodations? I told my spouse that until the friend is gone, I am staying at a hotel down the road from the hospital. I told my spouse that I felt incredibly hurt and angry that I was not the priority in an extremely stressful time in my life, that my spouse did not listen when I told them to tell the friend to make other plans than staying with us, that in trying to keep us both happy, spouse deeply hurt me, their partner in life. I told my spouse that they were not there for me when I needed them the most and could not be as long as they were catering to the friend. My spouse revealed they felt backed into a corner with the friend and like they had to keep us both happy. They also revealed the friend is known for sometimes having tantrums if they don't get their way. I was never told about this until now. My spouse said they talked to the friend about leaving, but still proceeded to drive them all day yesterday out of obligation. My spouse has told me how worried they are about me, but the fact it took this much talk to get them to realize their mistakes. Well, I don't know. My mom's surgery yesterday was successful, but it was stressful and ran longer than planned. I was alone in the waiting room as my siblings are all out of state. It was hard, but I am relieved my mom is recovering well. And, yes, I spent the night in a hotel as promised, as I was just drained after the long day. My spouse talked to their friend today and broke the news that they could not continue to drive the friend and that they needed to either fly back sooner or get accommodation elsewhere. My spouse is currently driving the entitled friend to their hotel in another city and is helping them get adjusted by essentially hand-holding them on transportation options. My spouse is still far too kind for their own good. Friend has yet to say thanks or contribute anything financially for all of the things spouse has done. My spouse said now the friend will be gone, so you can be happy. I do not know if he meant this to guilt trip me, but it kind of felt that way. Except I'm not happy. I'm still disappointed it even took this much for my spouse to do the right thing. I am still angry and hurt. I am hopeful that we can move past this in our relationship as there is a lot of love and support normally. This situation was just a massive F-up and my spouse is remorseful, but I do not know how long it will take me to forgive and trust my spouse again to be there for me. I will be talking about it in therapy and will likely ask about marital counseling. Something needs to change, and my spouse needs to learn when and how to say no. So yeah, that's the update. I may still do another day or two in a hotel to give myself the time and space to recover from a hellish week and a half. This whole experience has taught me to stick up for myself and not allow others to walk all over me. Thank you, fellow Redditors, for giving me the strength to put my needs above people-pleasing. OP adds some additional information in the comments. Thank you for your responses. Reading them has been very helpful in considering why my spouse behaved this way. To provide more context, my spouse's parents split up when he was 11. It was sudden and his dad just moved towns away. Spouse stayed with his mom because his whole life was in that town. His dad came back around, and they have a good relationship, but I can tell by talking to him that negatively impacted his development. My spouse has admitted that he was very angry around these years, and rather than reacting with anger, he learned to just not. His parents could also be a bit overbearing and have often insisted on helping him with things, rather than letting him learn. They are good people, but it is easy to tell that had a negative impact on him. My spouse learned from an early age to be meek, humble, and to put others' needs above his. Some people, like this friend, have exploited it. When my spouse and I first met, I had not yet gone to therapy. I was probably at my lowest point emotionally and reacted out of anxiety. There were times when I did not talk to my spouse out of frustration, mostly at us being long distance for longer than planned, and the silence was hard on him. When I started therapy, I worked through a lot of things and realized how unhealthy my avoidance behavior was and that I needed to communicate better. It was and still is a hard habit to break, but I work hard at it every day because I never want to hurt my spouse again. I have suggested to my spouse before that he should consider therapy to resolve these things from his childhood, but he has refused and doesn't find it necessary. You are spot on about my spouse internalizing that this is just how the friend is. My spouse has literally said those words to me. The saddest thing a few days ago was I asked if the friend had even thanked him. He was like, yeah, so I was like, what did he say? Oh, he told me since I drove so much, I didn't have to go out and get dinner for us today. I was like, that's not a thank you. A thank you would have been thank you for doing all this driving, I really appreciate it, I want to give you money toward gas and dinner is on me tonight. It is sad to me how low my spouse's standards are for treatment from friends. I would never manipulate my spouse because I love and care about them. I constantly thank him for everything he does for me and our family. I make an effort to do kind acts for him. When he was afraid of driving and had just come here, I drove him an hour each way to work 5 days a week. I stopped asking him for money towards some of the household expenses because I could see he was financially struggling, and as the breadwinner, I did not want that, even when he insisted on it. I have paid for vacations for us because I love him. When he was homesick, I found a way for us to go back to his country to see his family even though it was financially a struggle at that point. Whenever he has wanted anything, even stuff he himself could not afford, I've given it as gifts to him for special occasions. When he told me he wasn't getting enough sleep and felt tired, I completely changed my night owl ways and went to bed early each night for his benefit. And the list goes on. I aim every day to be a better partner for him because I love him. As far as divorce, I never threatened or even hinted at it. In fact, when my spouse jumped ahead and said something to the effect of "I'll leave the house for you if you never want to see me again," I firmly told him I would never do that, that unless he wants to divorce me, I'm firmly committed to our relationship and moving past this. The thing about my spouse, and I now know it's the trauma talking, is he jumps to conclusions and the worst assumptions. Anytime we've had a disagreement, however small, he offers to sleep on the couch or to leave the house if that's what I want. He's even said in the past, "You can hit me if you want to, I won't call the police, I deserve it." That broke my heart because I have never, nor would I ever, hit my partner. My grandfather was physically abusive toward my grandma, and that is something I would never do or tolerate in any relationship. I walked away because I was at my most stressed out, emotionally vulnerable spot in years, and I had no support from the person I love and trust the most. I could not deal with it. I have done everything I can to be a safe space for my husband and to reassure him anytime he says things like, "I'm a bad husband." He still feels wholly inadequate at times, and nothing I have done changes that. No amount of words or deeds changes it. I have suggested he get therapy, but he truly does not think he needs it. It is heartbreaking to me because I know my husband still has many struggles from his childhood and he deserves to have healthy self-esteem and to stop being walked all over. It took me years to learn that about myself, and I am in a much more rational, healthy headspace. Story 2, my boyfriend hung out with my bully and kept it from me. Original post, March 27, 2024. So sorry if this is long, I'll try to keep it short. I'm 21, female, Currently in a long-distance relationship with my boyfriend 21 male, because we're in different colleges. This morning I asked him what time I should call him in the evening, and he said he had plans to meet someone. I asked who, and he said, an old friend. I said, oh, from school? He told me no, she's a family friend. I said okay and didn't think anything of it. My boyfriend does these solo outings with his female friends a lot, where he goes on one-on-one hangouts with them, so I didn't think anything of it. I've never had any problems with it before because I'm not a jealous person and I trusted him. But now I'm rethinking that. A few hours ago, I was scrolling on Instagram, and switched over to my photography account and noticed my BF had posted a story. I opened it, and it was a repost of a picture of him sitting in some restaurant drinking a milkshake, and the caption on it was "Milkshake Stealer." I see the account that posted it, and it's the girl that bullied me all throughout middle and high school. I literally had a panic attack after I saw that. I'm still in shock. Also, for context, I've been dating my boyfriend since senior year of high school. When we started dating, the bullying stopped, because he was kind of the popular guy, and I was dating him. He knew of her, but wasn't friends with her. I told him about the bullying, and he even joked once that he saved me from her. So he knows what she's done to me and how I almost landed in the psych ward because of this girl, and he still lied to me about meeting her. When I switched back to my main account, I noticed he had blocked me from his story, but he probably forgot to block my photography account and that's why I saw it. I haven't confronted him with it because he's asleep, but I'm feeling so betrayed and hurt right now, I can't even type properly because I'm shaking. I don't know what to think. I'd if I'm more upset at him hanging out with her or keeping it from me. Or both. I usually pride myself on being a chill girlfriend despite my insecurities, but I'm really upset right now. Relevant comments. Comment 1, he's lying because he probably got caught cheating, and she probably did this on purpose. OP, that thought crossed my mind too, she's very much capable of it. Comment 2, he knew she was bullying you back then. So, he lied about them being family friends? OP, they're not family friends, he knew her in school because we went to a private school, but they weren't friends, and he knew she was bullying me after we got together, because I told him. She stopped harassing me when we got together, and then we graduated and I never thought I'd have to deal with her again until now I guess. Comment 3, don't let him continue to lie and don't fall for the excuses. OP, if I know him any well, I'm guessing he will tell me that. This is why I didn't want to tell you because you overreact because he's done that before. Over the course of our 3-year relationship, he's pranked me by breaking up with me 4 to 5 times and then gotten mad at me when I became upset. Now I'm wondering if he was actually breaking up with me and just took it back because I got upset. Like I'm wondering if he secretly resents me or something. Update 1, March 27, 2024, 8 hours later. Hi everyone, currently writing this after crying for an hour straight, but I did break up with him. Also thank you to everyone who left supportive and kind messages, I am truly so grateful. I would not have been able to break up with him if I didn't have so many people backing me up, so thank you for having my back. So I ended up pulling an all-nighter because of anxiety and decided to call him immediately after he was up. This is how the conversation went. I asked him if he had blocked me from his story, and he denied it, so I told him I saw it from my second account, and he went silent. Then he asked me if I was mad at him. If I hadn't posted here and gotten feedback from you all then I would have probably downplayed it, but I was firm with him. I said of course I was mad. What did he think? He's hanging out with someone who ruined my life. He said you're twisting it way out of proportion. This is why I didn't want to tell you. I asked how. He said he was just meeting someone who asked to meet up because she was in the area, and he couldn't say no. Edit, oh my god, really big detail I forgot to mention. When he was justifying meeting up with her, his reason was that he befriends everyone, so it's not exclusive to her. And he also told me she seems like she's a changed person. How did I forget to mention that when I wrote this? Sorry, my brain is all muddled up. I just remembered this because of another comment. We kept arguing back and forth and he kept gaslighting me, which I notice more now, and I finally told him that he broke my trust and betrayed me, and I want to break up. I was expecting him to be mad, but he said, if that's what you want. That just made me cry more, and I asked, do you not care about me at all? He said, I do, but not when you're disrespecting me like this. He also got mad at me for confronting him straight after he woke up, but I really couldn't wait because the anxiety was eating me up. I think what he said at the end that stung the most was that don't dump your insecurities onto me, I'm not your therapist. He has said this before as well, when I've tried to talk about issues in our relationship, where he's told me not to come to him for that. I was like, who else do I talk to about my relationship problems other than the guy I'm dating? He said, I don't know, but not me, go to a therapist. That never made sense to me, but I believed him because I didn't want to lose him. In the beginning of the relationship, he would be there for me when I was anxious or depressed, but in the past year and a half, every time I'm down, he tells me to not come to him. Is that normal? I know he was not my therapist, and I wouldn't dump my problems on him, but I just wanted some support. Anyway, I don't want to make this long. If you want specifics of the conversation, I can write them in the comments. I'm still nauseous and shaking, so I'm having a hard time typing this, sorry if it's a bit messy. He was so mean to me just now, that even though I'm grieving the relationship, I'm glad I broke up with him. I don't think I want to be with someone who's so mean to me after all the bullying I've endured in my life. Also, if any of you are worried about me, please don't be. I'm at home right now thankfully, and my mom is helping me. Thank you again for being so supportive, I really wasn't expecting so much of it. You all are amazing. Edit, I hadn't blocked him yet, but he just blocked me on all socials. Edit 2, he just unblocked me and started calling me on Instagram when he realized I blocked his number. I finally blocked him back. I'm feeling really anxious and overwhelmed, but I think I've made the right decision. Update 2, April 7, 2024, 11 days later. Hey all, I wasn't planning on writing this update so soon because I thought I'd wait until I was feeling better to update you all, but I did get some very kind encouragement, so here I am lol. Hopefully people can find this. And a big thank you to everyone who's still leaving comments, it means the world. So, a couple days ago I got a call from a random number and it was my ex, who was calling from his friend's phone. I had a full-blown panic attack when I realized it was him, but he convinced me to stay on call to talk. I kind of wish I hadn't, but I'm also glad I did because now I'm more confident that I made the right decision to break up with him. Honestly, the whole conversation was a bit of a roller coaster. He started by apologizing and telling me he will do anything to fix his mistake. I told him I'm not taking him back and he asked why. I said he betrayed me and also reminded him of all his bad behaviors throughout our relationship. He just kept justifying himself. I then accused him of cheating on me with my bully. He got super mad and denied the cheating and said they were just hanging as friends, but he hid me from the story because he knew I'd get upset. I told him that didn't make sense, and either way, he probably cheated on me with other girls as well. He said, well, you could have cheated on me too, how would I know? I said, how would that make sense when I literally mostly talked to him? Then he said that we should forgive each other because I've also hurt him. I was a little baffled. Then he had the audacity to say, I'm going to give you one last chance to fix this mistake. I asked what mistake. He said, this breakup. I'm not going to lie, that just made me laugh, and I think me laughing made him mad because he started calling me a effing bitch and asked me if I was a psycho. In that moment I was honestly taken aback and hurt by his behavior, but I was feeling glad that I had broken up with him. Anyway, after that I told him to not call me again or even visit me or I'd get a restraining order. I was kind of exaggerating here. And he said, yeah, you really are a psycho. Then he told me that he had slept with someone after I broke up with him, and I asked him what was the point in telling me that? He said, just thought you should know. Then he asked me if I did anything like that and I said obviously not. I almost told him I was hurting, but that would only give him more power, so I didn't. I don't even know if he was lying or not, but if he wasn't, then the fact that he went and had sex with someone so easily just proves that he had probably done that during our relationship as well. Anyway, I told him he can do whatever he wants because I didn't care anymore. Then he was like, oh, I get it, you broke up with me because you're not in love with me anymore, but you're putting the blame on me? Wow. I was too tired to justify myself again, so I told him he can think whatever he wants. Now I'm kind of regretting that, but whatever. Then he told me to F off and ended the call. Then I blocked the number. That conversation absolutely drained me, and I've been feeling drained since then. But good news, I do have a therapist consultation this coming Thursday. So I will get better. Also, so sorry if this was super long. I tried to make it short. But thank you again for all the support. I truly would not be this strong if it wasn't for you all. I'm glad OP broke up with him. So often people continue to justify their abuser's behavior because it's not physical or some other reason. Anyway, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.